Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 187 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. Now, before we introduce tonight's iconic, legendary name, I want to introduce tonight's co-host for this evening. First off, ladies first, from the land from down under, from Miss Jessie Devine. Love having you here, Jess. Always has a pleasure.
Oh,
Also
thank
join,
you.
also join us too, from jolly old England, from, both of them jolly old England, Mr. Kwame Jacobs and Gia.
What's up, good?
Greetings and salutations, everyone.
Good to see you both.
You too.
You too, man.
And of course, joining us tonight, wonderful Mr. Christopher Petey.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome,
Good to be
Chris.
here.
Now to introduce tonight's guest star this evening. First off, he's a man I am a huge fan of. He has starred in many projects, and one of my particular favorite ones was Power Rangers Time Force. My guest at this time is Power Ranger legend and Frax himself, Mr. Eddie Frierson. Eddie, welcome. How are you today, sir? by the way, Mr. Frierson.
Master.
And by the way, Eddie, before we get to the questions, though, I just want to say that it is such an honor and pleasure having you. And I don't mean to sound like a broken record because I've had on the past, you're actually the third villain from Time Force I had on the show. I had Vernon Wells on the show twice on my show. I've had Kate Sheldon who played Nadira. So it's so awesome to have, the major crew of Rantic's army, Frax, Nadira, and Rantic himself on the show.
Awesome. I love it. And I heard that last year in the Palisades fire, Vernon had some, may have lost his home, but I didn't get that verified. So as they keep rebuilding all of that, keep him in your thoughts.
Hear my thoughts, Vernon.
I hope Vernon's all right though.
Hope so.
Yeah, no, he's fine. But I heard that his, because he lived in the Palisades, and I heard that, and that was secondary hearsay. I didn't talk to him in person, but I know that so many friends. There's at least 13 friends of mine that I know, both there in Altadena, who lost everything. So it was pretty brutal. It was that day. It was hurricane force winds and 7% humidity, so there was like no chance.
Oh.
Anyway, but not to be on that evil note.
Mr. Frierson, I'm going to start with my first question, and this could be a typical cliche question, and that is, how and when did you get your first big break and or start into acting? Take us there.
Well, I guess it would go back to the only bad play I was ever in. It was a production of Anna Karenina. It was called Anna K, and basically the script was really bad, but there were 7 of us that just bonded during that run at a little tiny hole-in-the-wall theater in Hollywood called Theater Rapport. And those 7 of us, we became the family. And one of the members of that family was the phenomenal Laura Cody, who I don't know if you know her work, but she's done thousands of things. And we were all sitting one night at the Denny's after one of the shows, and she said, "Hey, you want to come see what I do?" And it's like, well, yeah, sure. When? She goes, "Tonight, 2 a.m." Well, what are you talking about? She said, "Well, it's a Japanese cartoon anime." I had never heard of anime before, and it's low budget, so they can't afford the studio during the daytime. So it's a 2 to 5 a.m. session. Why don't you just come and sit in there and see what I do? It's like, sure, what the heck? And at 5 a.m, when that session was over, I could still see the fella Ed Mannix, who had one of these voices. He says, "Hey, you do this, don't you?" And I said, "Well, of course I do. I mean, I can, I was living on the beach. I'm a kid from, Tennessee." And it's like, "Yeah, of course I do." Because all actors say they do everything. It's like, are you right or left-handed? What do you need? That kind of nonsense. And he said, "Well, what are you doing at 9 a.m.? And I, me being funny, I go, "Sleeping," because we're just up all night. He said, No. I've got a Italian movie. I'm dubbing into English. My actor bailed on me. I'm eating a studio time. You'd be good for it. Why don't you just go back to the Denny's, have some breakfast, meet me down there at 9 o'clock. It'll take us about 6 hours. And so I did, but I just happened to get it just from watching Laura do sync and stuff. And this was live action, so it was Italian. You're trying to hit the closed mouths and all that stuff. But I realized this kid that he wanted me to do that was going to take 6 hours was having a PCP breakdown. And so the camera was spinning around him. So what I would do, I'm looking at this page of like 200 cues in this 10-minute breakdown. And every time it went to the back of his head, I would go, "But Mom, I can't stand it anymore. I just can't." And then it would come on his face, and I would just go, and hit the. And so it took us 45 minutes, which was bad for me because at the time we thought it was awesome. It was like it was $15 an hour, which was awesome, But I only got the 1 hour. Later on, helped negotiate the low budget agreements to get at least 2 hour minimum and $50 an hour, and then it's expanded from there. But that he called the next week and said, "I got another thing for you." I did that, and then he says, "Hey, I got this fellow Bob Barron. I told him that he should talk to you, so expect a call." I get a call from Bob Barron. "We got this new cartoon called Robotech," and that kind of started it all off. It was the first anime series that was in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, ever, and that led to just one thing after another, after another, after another, and then it eventually, broke through Laura into movies and TV, and I basically haven't stopped working since. I was just working today on a World War II football thing called Mosquito Bowl, which will probably come out in the fall. And I'm just really fortunate and lucky. So, and Frax, that was a whole other fun thing. Like, how did that voice happen? How did all that stuff? And it's Scott Pagter, who has since passed, sadly. He was the post supervisor on all of that stuff. And he called and he says, "Hey, I got like a couple of lines for a robot in a couple of episodes. Can you come up here?" It's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Because, that's what we did. You don't even think about it. And you go and you see this orange robot. And it was, so if you go back and you look at early episodes, it's just a line here, a line there, but it's all, "Yes, master," trying to be a robot kind of thing, right? Because it's like, what kind of a voice would you do? And we're laughing because both of us thought that was a stupid voice to try and pick, up in your nose and high, and it's just kind of dumb. But then he called, 2 weeks later, "Hey, we got two more, come on up here." And then after that, it's like he's turning into a main character, so we got it. And I can remember it was the day that we found out it was going to be like, this is continuing, or like a recurring thing. Pouring rain in LA. We're up in the studio up in Santa Clarita, and I didn't want to get out in the rain, really, whatever. And we're doing a scene, where if you know Frax and how his eyeballs pop out,
Oh, yeah.
here and
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Well, they had a
Yeah,
sound
that's
effect
gimmick.
for that, was kind of like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. I don't know if you ever knew or heard or saw them, but it was
I did.
basically,
Yeah.
but you know
I
how
remember.
when you knocked their block off, it went,
Yeah.
so it was basically
Uh,
his eyes popped out, and then there was a sound effect,
yeah, yeah.
the little burr thing. And I said,
Yeah.
"Hey, can you run it? I want to try something," right? And this is the first time we'd ever seen his eyes go, right? And so they did it, and I went into the hysterical, just insane laughter, right?
Yeah, I've seen him
And
do that a few
then
times.
he came
Including his
back, and
Sentai
it's like,
counterpart.
Scotty goes, his eyes pop out again. So I hope you're ready. So it just became a thing where the character sort of came out of just by us laughing originally, but it worked for the part. And then, who knew that there'd be this whole storyline and a catharsis and everything else for this robot with some scientist living inside of him. And that was a really fun one to do, because Power Rangers, for the most part, is very simple and the same thing over and over again. The Time Force year is the only year that the Rangers didn't win. So that's kind of a fun thing to be a part of. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, that's that. I get verbose. I apologize.
Eddie,
No, that's okay. That's cool.
I gotta ask you, Eddie, because when I had Kerrigan Mahan on the show, who voiced Goldar, and other voice actors that
Yeah, Carrie's
worked on-
a dear friend of mine. Yeah.
He's a wonderful guy. And another person I'm trying to get on the show, I've had Richard Epcar on the show, I've had Neil Ross on the show, all great guys. And I'm going to ask you the same question too. Also, Peter Rowley and Bruce Hopkins for the New Zealand voiceover guys from Power Rangers. But when you worked on Time Force, though, did you get to work with the cast, or were you in a separate booth as a voice actor?
Well, it was typically me, Bree, and Neil doing the
Circuit
animated
and,
characters in the same session. But I can remember, oh gosh, why is my mind drawing a blank? The young, really pretty, the main ranger person that everybody was in love with. What was her name? Um,
Uh,
anyway, the actress.
Erica Hill. It was her name.
It's Cahill.
Yes,
Cahill,
yes,
Cahill,
Aaron
Cahill.
yes. So
Cahill.
Aaron.
Aaron. She's
So there's
awesome.
one day where
Strongest yet.
Aaron is in there. She's got to do stuff, and so they want to kick us out for a second because she's got to be back on set and whatever. And she goes, no. I want to see what you guys did. I want to see what you're doing. And so she hung out with us, and we even had her do some different stuff. And she, forever and a day since then, just the most wonderful person. We see each other at like signing events, and it's like, hey, big hugs. It's just really fun. Because it was all except for Vernon, it was everybody's first job, not us, the voiceover people. But that's sort of what Chaim Saban ended up doing with Power Rangers. Once that first group that became so famous with Carrie being Goldar and all that, they were together for over 3 years and were on the cover of TV Guide and everything else. And then they just wanted a simple raise. And the day that they asked for it, in a very nice way, he basically said, you know what, you're fired, just like that. And he then made it to where every season, that's why there's a different Power Rangers every year, gets complete unknown cast. It's their first job, pays them dirt, or the bare minimum, and makes them sign away their likeness and everything else. They get nothing off of all the billions of dollars of toys that get sold. It's brilliant business, but that's why Time Force even existed, is because they were creating the different storylines every year and still using the same Japanese fighting sequences. If you'll see them over and over again in the episodes.
I gotta actually too, like with Power Rangers, Time Force, so and Wild Force. Do you think that, I mean, even though we know Frax got his demise in like Time Force, like, how awesome would it have been if he showed up like as a good guy, as a reformed good guy in Wild Force, like teaming up with Rancic and Nadir, but this time as good guys?
It would have been very, very cool. And it still is. I find it, when we were doing it, I didn't know that it was going to come to that end thing, and he was going to get my melting basically at the end. That the whole realization in his character that this was good, this was bad, this was whatever, and regrets, and then being killed for all of it. But the reaction of fans years later is just kind of mind-bogglingly fun, because I was just having fun with Scotty, and it turned into this thing. And then every day we go in, we'd have more fun. Hey, do we get the eyes pop out again? And it was really a fun gig. It was a long drive to get to the studio in Santa Clarita. Now I live up in Santa Clarita. It would have just been a 5-minute, hike over. But, I was living on the beach in Santa Monica at the time. It took me hours to get up here.
uh, Eddie, I'm going to pass my next question to Jesse though. But before I do, I just going to ask: will we, as we know, Power Morphicon is going to be in August though. Vernon was recently announced as a guest, and so was Kate Sheldon. Do you see yourself appearing at Morphicon this year?
I do you know the dates of it yet?
Yes, I
just
do,
need
sir.
to
August
talk to
28th,
Scott.
August 28th, and the 30th.
Yeah, yeah, it should be. I haven't been able to make the last couple because, my mom got sick and passed, and I've been kind of caring for my dad since then. So I had to skip the last couple that there have been because I wasn't in town. But I would love to do that. I'll be here in August. In fact, I'll be doing my show, the Maddie Show, at the Santa Monica Playhouse, August 15th and 16th. If anybody's here, 2 weeks before, which I doubt they will be. But hey.
I would love to go to that show. I'm going to be in town for 3 weeks. I definitely want to attend that.
Bring it on. I'll figure out how to give you a discount or just get you in the door.
That'd be awesome, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
Jess?
And I guarantee you will enjoy yourself, even if you hate baseball.
Listen, I'm a fan of Eddie Frierson. Anything that you do, Eddie, I'm a fan of. I've been a fan of yours since a long time, and I'm not going to change that.
Well, it's a double dose because do you know who the director was who helped me develop the show?
Please tell me.
The one and only Kerrigan, Mahan, Goldar.
Oh,
So,
fuck. So
yeah,
cool.
and wonderful.
Goldar
You know,
Helmsley.
it's like we're kind of like Wally Cleaver and Eddie Haskell. We just get each other, and I love him to tears. He just called the other day. He's living up Central Coast of Florida now. I'm not Florida, Central Coast of California now.
Did you get Eddie? Did you get to work with Bob Happenbrook and Neil Kaplan?
Yeah, I work
Okay.
with Neil all the time. Neil would work on the same sessions for Time Force because he was that
Gluto. He was Gluto.
yeah, he was a gloppy
That was
dude.
him.
And Bree, you know, we were sort of like a trio during the course of that show. You know, and Bree's a hoot because she's got like this support parrot that she's always
Circuit.
got. Just the best. You know, that she brings everywhere, and I think it even has its own Instagram. I'm not sure, but she's a hoot, and she lives nearby me now too. So it's kind of fun to have people that you worked with ages ago that you still are kind of in contact. In fact, she texted me the other yesterday. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago, day before yesterday. There was a fast-moving brush fire up here that was next to a neighbor about 2 miles from me, and she's the first one to say, "Is that near your house?" It's like, well, yeah, it is, but I'm okay, and they put it down quickly. I'm glad you guys don't have to worry about wildfires. It is just a mess. Yeah, you have tornadoes and
Mhm.
hurricanes and cold weather instead,
Oh,
right?
we have plenty of our hurricanes and tornadoes here in New York.
Uh,
And we
yeah,
have
yeah,
wildfires up here in Oregon, and although they do happen kind of like in the more eastern areas, uh, I'm kind of more in the Portland area, so very little to worry about in that regard.
right.
Eddie, I have
Well, they keep talking about this super El Nino that all the rain is going to be more rain this year. So we'll see.
Eddie, we're gonna pass the next question to my friend Jess. Jess, your question?
Okay,
Any me
Jess, what do you got?
All right, Ed. All right, Eddie. Any methods or approaches you do to prep yourself for a particular role?
Well, it depends what the role is. Typically, if it was Frax, not to start because it just happened by accident, but then knowing that I would have to do that thing, I would kind of do some warm ups in the car because otherwise I'm going to be hoarse tomorrow. Like I probably will be just from doing it here. But typically, not a lot other than maybe just seeing the footage and kind of in the instant preparing for it. It's totally different from like a stage play. I mean, for example, my Maddie show, I spend an hour and a half beforehand like I'm at Dodger Stadium doing pregame infield and throwing phantom baseballs to people and doing stuff and walking through the blocking and running a couple of lines in my head. So that's a whole different thing because I have to, it's such a physical thing to where I have to prepare so that I don't look like I'm going to fall over. But as most of the voice stuff is just show up and be me. So there's not a ton of prep on that stuff in particular, unless it's a specific thing. It's a period newscaster thing, which for whatever reason they love me doing what I think is a cartoon voice, which is kind of missing doing a Harry Reasoner. Today in the Oval Office, President Nixon met with Leon Jaworski. That kind of thing. So just kind of got to get in the mode for that. Kind of like same thing doing accents. If you got a thing tomorrow, it's going to be a Southern thing. You got to talk like that for the whole day, just so it sounds natural when you actually do it. That kind of thing. But other than that, I don't really do vocal exercises or anything like that. I just try to think of the character and get in the character rather than do any vocal prep. You just want to kind of think like them. But then again, sometimes the writing's not good enough to think like them. You know the character better than the person that wrote the script. And so, if you're working with a good crew, you can work the dialogue in a slightly different way to make it better for whatever you're working on. And it's nice when you have people that trust you and you trust them. So, like for instance, if I was telling Kerrigan, I said, you know, this guy really should say, I love liver. No, no, it doesn't work. It's like, okay, I trust you. This person likes popcorn. Okay, whatever. Bad analogy, but you know what I mean. Whereas, I don't know if all right, try it. And then, all right, it works. That's good. All right, that's good. It's that kind of a thing. Collaboration on character stuff is always kind of fun.
Very cool. And you mentioned too, Maddie. I want to talk. I'm very interested to know more about this. Would you like to talk more about the Maddie project?
Sure, you got 4 hours.
Uh, as long as you want.
Well, it's really interesting. So, I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. That's why it's easy to slip on into that without preparing for it. And came out to California to play ball at UCLA. I was a baseball guy because my whole family is a basketball family. My Uncle Bob is a Hall of Famer, invented the behind the back and the between the legs and the fast break, and with Red Auerbach, the 24-second clock. Bob Cousy, if you know that name, modeled his game after my Uncle Bob. So Uncle Bob and George Mikan of the Lakers at the time in the early 50s, they were the Magic Johnson and Larry Bird of the day. And my sister was a superstar. She scored 4,000 points in high school, was all state as a freshman. I mean, and she came out to UCLA on a deal. This is a long way to get to the Maddie show. But that brought me out here, and it became kind of clear, not right away, but it's like, you know, there's 13 guys on the bench my freshman year, and all 13 spent more than 10 years in the big leagues, and I was not them. So while being awesome in Tennessee is awesome, and being pretty good in California is pretty good, but pretty good is just pretty good. You know, it's not the same thing. So knowing I was never going to make the big leagues, I really pushed into the theater stuff because I wanted to get my theater degree, and at the same time stayed with baseball, and coached at Santa Monica High for a number of years. My first year there was Charlie Sheen's senior year, that kind of thing. And my dad, who's an educator, he was in a used bookstore. He was out to visit doing a workshop down at UC Irvine, and UC San Diego, was in an old bookstore in San Diego and found a copy of Pitching in a Pinch, which is a book that Christy Mathewson, the old ball player, wrote in 1912. And he got it, picked it up, came up to see me on the beach, hung out for a couple of days, gave me this book, said, you know, thought this looked interesting, and I stuck it on my shelf. That was the end of that. So then when a couple of years later, it's been sitting on the shelf, we were going to family reunion, which we do every summer. I needed something to read on the plane. And I just stepped back into my place on the beach and reached over, and that's what I grabbed. And as I was reading it on the plane, I was laughing out loud before that was a thing. You know, it was, the stuff is coming to life. And when I got to the beach and I'm talking to my dad, I said, that book you got me, I think I can do something with this book. It's pretty, it's a lot of fun, good stories. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think it'd be fun. And he said, well, where's he from? I said, Factoryville, Pennsylvania. So where's that? I don't know. Well, let's go to the AAA back when you did that. See, you guys don't know. Let's go to the AAA and get a map and we'll see. So you could always go to the Auto Club and get any map that you wanted anywhere in the world. And it was awesome. So you get one of every state. You get North America, South America, Europe. You could get, you get anything. And so you cover your walls in your teenage bedroom with maps of the world. So he said, well, oh, look, it's just outside of Scranton, and it's over here by Honesdale. Walter B. lives in Honesdale. Why don't we, when we get back to Nashville, why don't you jump in the old beat-up Colt and drive up there and see if anybody's still alive? It's like, what? Really? It's like, yeah. So Walter B. was Walter Barb, who was my dad's advisor when he got the first PhD ever at Kent State University. And Walter became the editor-in-chief of Highlights for Children and put my dad on the inside cover for our whole known existence as we were growing up. So every time you went to the dentist office or the doctor office, Highlights was there and my dad's name in the front. But Walter has since passed, and so it's not in there anymore. But I thought, hey, well, this is out of the box. And then to cut the story shorter, because this buildup is already too long, by day 2, it wasn't about me at all. I was finding things out about this man I had no idea of. He was the most popular person in the world the first 16 years of the 1900 and 1916. People would just put a 6. His nickname was the Big Six. They just put a 6 on an envelope. There was one that got to him from Egypt with a 6 on it. So he was just world famous as a baseball player at a time that there's only newspapers. I mean, so it was, I blew my mind that there was so much stuff and meaning, and then his writings were just so far out of the box and whatever. So so developing that, there actually were people in their 90s that were alive as children when he died in 1925, and they had stories and reflections and memories that helped, not so much for writing it, but for me becoming him. And I took 9 years. And it's interesting. I was doing a Walla session at Inner Sound, the same place that I did that first thing with Laura Cody, and we didn't do a lot of Walla sessions at the time. Walla, you guys know what Walla is? It's basically when you get a group of people to do crowd noise. So, peas and carrots, all of us talking at the same time, and then they put that in the background and it sounds like a full cafeteria or whatever. So we're there, and in between takes, I'm sitting over in the corner. I've got my script because I'm going to do this at the Santa Monica Play. I'm coaching, and I had asked them, I said, hey, if we split the box office, I want to raise money for new uniforms for the kids at the school, and I need to develop this show, which I've only done once before. Would you be up for that? And they said, absolutely, sure. And I've been, tied to the Santa Monica Playhouse ever since. They keep asking me to come back and do it now that it's kind of famous. So Kerrigan's saying, so what are you doing? That's my bad Kerrigan Mahan, by the way. as you don't care. No, what are you doing? I'm learning lines. For what? It doesn't make, for what? I'm doing a one-man show. Where? Santa Monica Playhouse. You don't want, when? Well, it's tomorrow night, and but you don't want to come. It's like $20. Now, this was when small theater in LA, the high price ticket was $12.50. So $20 was a lot of money. Even though that's like normal. I mean, I got my dad a senior ticket to the movies the other day. It was $19.50. What's that about? Why would anyone go to the movies? Anyway, so I still go. So I say, yeah, you don't want this $20. And he just ignores me, right? I walk out on stage the next night. Not only is he there in the front row, but he's got a date. So he bought 2 tickets. So he spent $40. So it'd be like going to a dumpy theater and spending $150 now for something you have no idea of, with one guy that you've never seen act outside of a recording studio, and about a guy that you've never heard of. Oh, this'll be good, right? And so I did it, and 2 days later, I was not going to see him because we were never going to be in the same room over the next X amount of weeks or months. And the phone rang, and it's hello. It's like no introduction, no anything. This man talked to me. It's like, what? Says, this man talked to me the other night through you. You have something special, but you need help. And I'm like, what? He says, I want to direct it. I want to help you break down the script. I want to fix it. You've got something special. This man talked to me. You need help. What do you say? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah. I was going to be doing it at Bucknell University like the next month. And so he met me, and we did some simple blocking and did that, came back. And when we came back, he said, meet me at my house Monday morning at 10 o'clock. It's like, why? Bring the script. It's like, okay, whatever. But I got nothing else to do, right? And I don't know this guy. So you have to understand, if you didn't know Kerrigan Mahan, you would think he's just this sullen curmudgeon, and it's really just his voice, comes off as, if you don't know any better, you would think he was angry. There is not a bigger puppy dog on the planet. I mean, I love it. I named one of my kids after him. He's just the greatest guy on the planet. Anyway, so he's got all he spreads out all the dot matrix printed pages all over the floor. It's everywhere. And he just starts he says, start reading it. And saying, go, blah, 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 blah. No, that can go. Throws it away.
Oh,
Nah, that's good. Cuts it right here and moves it over here. Didn't have the computer to really do it, unless you wanted to put it on floppy disk. And we spent 2 weeks doing this, and this. Then I took it and I redid all of what we had redone. Had my dad look at it, and he said, yeah, but the grammar's wrong here. Boom, boom, boom. And then back to Kerrigan, cutting and moving and doing. Then me back, reworking all that. And over the course of, 9 years, it became what it was. We ended up getting an offer from fella Ed Gaines to do it at a theater in North Hollywood, Studio City. And it just took on a life of its own. We're in this tiny theater, and it's sold out every night. And Channel 9 News came and did a feature for the sports section. But for 2 solid nights, it was the entire sports section. They didn't give any scores of the Lakers or the Dodgers or anybody. It was just unbelievable. The things that make no sense. The Daily News. There's L.A. Times and Daily News. The Daily News on their weekend pullout. It's always a movie. This remains the only play that's been on the cover of the L.A. Life weekend edition of the Daily News. The L.A. Times. It's remarkable if they do one extra feature on any show, and they did 3 on Maddie. And then we ended up taking it to New York. It was at the Lambs Theater, which is a building that Christy Mathewson had dinner 3 times a week with Flo Ziegfeld and George M. Cohan and John McGraw. I mean, so there was a lot of history there. And it just sort of it still blows my mind because people say, oh, you're so awesome. It's like, no, there's something about this guy. It has nothing to do with me. I mean, I took the words, but he really was special. And then it turned out where I got invited to do it at the Baseball Hall of Fame. And it's the first outside event ever at the Hall of Fame because they're a museum. And, so here's the kid from Tennessee who wanted to play in the big leagues, who wasn't good enough, goes into coaching. And through theater, I'm an honorary member of the Baseball Hall of Fame. I go in the offices in Cooperstown and they go, Eddie, how you doing? It's crazy. Makes no sense. So that's my really long short story of the Maddie Show. The long story is like 4 hours, seriously.
Well, if you're interested in coming back on in the future for part 2, we'd love to hear more of that story if you're okay with that.
Sure. Yeah. If people are interested in that, it'd be great. And then the thing is, that was so important for Kerrigan and myself was that it was theater, that people who hated sports, that would enjoy it. And so as we're getting ready to have the run, we had there was a 45-seat theater that we had, and we invited a bunch of church ladies, and we talked to them. It's like, do you like baseball? It's like, no. And my husband watches football every Sunday. I can't stand it. So we got a room full of people who resented sports in some way. And when they were all standing at the end, we knew we had something. So it does speak to people, and this guy was special. So it's sort of like any good theater, you can relate to him because we're all human beings, and we all have the same common experiences, and we know the same types of people. For him, it'd be an umpire. For you, it's a teacher or mom and dad or a boss or whatever. And so even though his stories have a baseball backdrop to them, anybody can relate to them. Then there's highs and lows, and there's tragedy, and there's great triumphs. And it's for me, it's just really fun to be him for 2.5 hours on a night. People go, 2.5 hours. It's like, well, yeah, it was 3 when we did it in LA, and there was never a comment in any review about the time. So it's just a lot of fun.
Very cool. We're going to show a clip too of the Frax, the video that I compilated personally in your honor, though. But before we do, Kwame and Gia have their questions. So before Kwame asks his question, he wants to ask you this other question that we ask every single Power Ranger star on here. So Kwame, go ahead and ask this question. Go ahead.
So Ed. Ed. Can I call you Ed for short?
Well, my dad's Ed, so I'm Eddie. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
In fact, here's a fun fact for you. My twin sister, yes, I have a twin sister, knowing that I don't like being called Ed because that's my dad and I'm Eddie, but we're both Edward. So she took the Ed out of Edward, the E off the front, the D off the back. All my sisters call me Dwar. That's just a little bit of info. If you call me Dwar, I'll respond. I know.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Edward missing the E off the front and the D off the back leaves you with Dwar.
Lord. Okay.
All right then.
Sure, okay.
All right then.
So all right, Kwame, what do you got?
Yeah. We just said I was tempted to make an Ed and Eddie joke, but I'm keeping it to myself. So
It's okay.
as for you, all right, Eddie. Since Time Force came out when I was born, along with Gia and Jess, how does it feel to be a legend? Because the truth is, I mean, Frax is one of my favorite villains because I love that voice of his, and I love how insane he is. He makes me laugh. He's cool.
Yes, Master. It's so much fun, I tell you.
You still got it, dude.
You know what?
It's still have it.
There we go.
It's really fun being a celebrity. But the thing is it's only certain people that think you're famous. Other people don't have the slightest idea. Isn't that right, Master?
So for me, it's like, especially when the voice wasn't even created. We were just being silly. And for it to turn into something that people love is mind-boggling. It's just so much fun. But I think so many things like that happen. It's like Rob Reiner's mother going, "I'll have what she's having" in that diner scene. It wasn't planned. It wasn't that she did it in a rehearsal take, and the whole crew came down laughing, and so they put it in the movie. It's kind of the same thing with Frax. The voice is stupid, but then it fit.
Because it could have been something like this the whole time.
It could have been anything. Or it could have been Neil doing it, and I could have been doing Gluto or Brutus or whatever his name was. So anyway, so it's fun. I'm thrilled that you guys enjoy it so much. And like I tell when people come at the conventions, or I talk like this, it really was no big deal to us at the time. So it's like we're young like you, and we're just being, hey, you want to can you come in and do this? And it's like, how many hours? At $15 an hour. It's like, it'll take 3 hours. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, because at the 3 hours would get you about $15, and here you're going to make 3 times that much, having fun and being silly. So so it really was that. I mean, I get asked about all kinds of characters that I don't even remember. So I'm thrilled that so many fans can get in there and put lists on the anime websites and different things, but it's the kind of thing where it's only, I don't know, it's probably 5% of what any of us have done, that you're seeing this giant list of 300, 400 things, whatever it is. But it's the fans that keep that stuff alive that let us know that it was meaningful and good. But at the time, it was the people that were hiring us that were meaningful and great to us. So the Bob Barons of the world that was putting together all the Robotech stuff and sort of mentored us young actors into, no, get it in sync. You got to hit the closed mouths. MVP, you got to hit it. Here's the script. Get it in there. It's been written to fit. Make it work. And there was a real, up until then, there was not a real care at all about real sync. It was just like, the mouth do this, and you just go, well, I think that it's going to be a bright, sunshiny day. And nobody cared. But this group in the mid-'80s, starting with Robotech and then the little projects that happened after that, really got into having pride in the writers like Steve Kramer and Greg Snegoff, and people that were writing the scripts to write them for sync. And sometimes it was difficult because the Japanese translation didn't fit the mouth with an English word, and so you do stuff backwards to try and make it mean the same thing, or you would get what was in this sentence 2 lines later in something that would sync. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's long-windedness. I'm thrilled that famous, but really only to you guys, and that's good enough for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
love that, and I swear to you, if you come up to, I have I have a problem my own self with charging for autographs. I really do.
Mm.
I know that it's what it is, and some people make their living and all that kind of stuff. But come see me, and I'll give you a business card for free or something. Just it's tough, especially if you're on a go pay Kerrigan for his Goldar and come back to me and just talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have said that.
You
Don't
want me to
worry,
edit? You want me to
we're not
edit
gonna
that,
tell
Eddie?
him.
Would you like me to edit that, Eddie?
You know what? You could if you want, but I do mean that. It's like I would rather sit and talk to you guys than take, you know, what are we charging now? $75 to sign a picture. And I know that that's market value and that people willingly and love to pay for it and it's worth it and all that stuff. There's just still that part of me that goes, I just got lucky because they called me that day. It could have been somebody else.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to you're going through the rehearsal, the audition process, and now it's going to be with the casting director, not their assistant, and now it's going to be with network, and now it's going to be the producers, and then you get the part. This was not that. This was, hey, you've got an audition, but it's really, hey, you've got the part. Are you available? Oh, okay. Well, I'll get somebody else. Or, Kerrigan couldn't do this thing tomorrow. Are you free? And then I'd be Goldar. It was a time that was so much fun because we really had no idea, and you could not fathom the idea of DVDs and streaming and all the things that keep it alive now. The fact that you've got streaming channels where you can see obscure things. I mean, what's fun for me is I was Tombo in the original Kiki's Delivery Service that was dubbed into English. And then Disney bought it, from Streamline and redubbed it with celebrities, but I was still Tombo. And then they did it again and replaced all the voices. And so you can't find the old ones, but my nephew found a copy of that from the Library of Congress that you could just easily just download and watch, and it's just kind of a hoot. But I can still remember doing a show called 3x3 Eyes, and Carl Masick is in there, and he goes, "Are you ready for this? Ready for what?" He says, "This is pretty gruesome. You've never seen anything like this. The Japanese are kind of an odd lot," and my character, who is the main character in this series, walks in front of a bus and he gets hit by a bus and blood and guts splattered everywhere. And you literally had not seen that before, not in a cartoon or, live action where you see the head getting blown off or any of that stuff. It was like, oh my gosh. And then here he is, my guy is dead on the street. And then all of a sudden this eye grows out of his forehead and he comes back to life because he's got this life force. He can't be killed. And he sees things that other people don't see because he's got this eye in the middle of his forehead. 3x3 eyes. It was a cool short. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 volumes of it. And I don't know where that is. I think I got a VHS tape out in the garage of maybe one episode, but there's so many of those things I wish I had a copy of. I wish I could make a full career reel out of something, but I don't have the clips. But it's fun to know that people remember this. It's like, hold it, what was that? And they'll say, oh, you remember, and you did this, this, and this, and this, and you just kind of go, this must be what Captain Kirk feels like when they ask what the motivation was on the planet in episode 4 in the first reel. And yeah, okay. And then I go back and I try to find what fans tell me about to see what they're talking about. Because sometimes, you don't want to say, well, I don't have a slightest clue. So you kind of roll with it. Or a fan will say, oh, and I go, oh, yes, I remember that. And those are the fun moments. So I guess about being famous, that's fun, is having those interactions and being able to relive something you totally forgot about and knowing that it was meaningful for somebody. So
Very cool. Quam Quam, you had a set of question piggybacking that one, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, you're right. All right, let's see. Yeah, it was a legend question. All right, here we go. Do you have memories of your audition for Power Rangers Time Force and your reaction on getting the role as Frax?
Well, and here's the thing, because I kind of touched on this before. There was not an audition. Scotty Page, Pactor, called me up and said, "I've got a couple of lines for a robot. Can you come up here?" You know, knowing that it was difficult to come up to Santa Clarita from Santa Monica. I don't know if you guys know. So it's only about 35 miles, but you got to go through the Sepulveda Pass where UCLA is and into the valley, then the whole way across the San Fernando Valley, and then up into the Newhall Pass and down. And so that 35 miles can take you an hour and a half to 2 hours on a given day. So you better have a good audio book while you're doing that. And so, but it's like, yeah, I could do that. It was a day that I didn't have to coach up at the high school. And, so I just drove up, and like I said, he says, "Okay, here's the robot," and I would have to. What would be fun is to go back and see. I don't think Frax showed up until episode 3 or 4. I'm not sure.
I
Was he in
actually
the
have
first one?
I have
First
the clips
episode?
actually of his first debut. I'll actually play that clip of his first ever appearance.
Okay. Okay. Well, that'll be fun to see here in a little bit, because it was like, okay, here's the robot, take a look at it, and then just imagine it with no sound at all. And you go, okay, can I see it again? It's like, and so it was, yes, master, I do this, whatever. My memory was just doing a silly robot voice was my thought process on that, which was a bad choice, but not if it's just one episode. Kind of like he would call and say, "Hey, I got 2 monsters I need you to do." And so you would go up and you'd see this blob of a thing and just go, and it would never be heard from again. But that's what it seemed like Frax was, you know. Um, you didn't know he was going to come back. I didn't, and Scotty didn't either, because they hadn't seen the scripts down the road. They hadn't cut the footage yet or shot the episodes. So probably Vernon and Kate knew what was going to be happening 3, 4 episodes in advance, but not me. And so when we came up with that voice, I guess that was the audition, and he laughed and said, "Yeah, that's great. That's fine. Yeah, let's go with that." And then it was that, and then it was a couple episodes later where the eyeballs popped out, and it became the maniacal Frax laugh. And it's like, and that wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been raining, and I didn't want to go out and get soaked going to the car. But we literally, I thought we were gonna all wet ourselves, and that, you got Bree and Neil and Scotty, and I do that, and we're all on the floor laughing because it was hilariously stupid at the time. Not stupid, dumb stupid, but like, what kind of choice was that? And it ended up being a great choice for the character. They started writing it in and doing more eye pops as the series went along. So anyway, so that's a didn't really have the audition was just testing it, and he could have easily said, no, go lower with the voice, and then it would have been something like this or whatever. We would have just until we found what we were looking for. And even then, if they, there's going to be a really big character. So what we did in the first thing, we got to somehow flip it into something else. Like, that was back when he was pretending to be totally subservient and all that stuff. And, he's going to start talking here so we can switch. That didn't happen, but that sort of stuff did happen a lot, to where, because even the people that were recording it or shooting it did not know where the script was going, because they're writing scripts all night long, trying to get it shot, put in the can, and ready for air. So there, that was it. I didn't have an audition for Frax other than the silly voice and Scotty going, "Yeah, you know what? That's good. That'll work. Let's try that."
Okay.
So,
Good to
so,
know, man.
So Eddie, I gotta say, before we're gonna show the clip of Frax's first appearance soon, but before we get to that though, I just want to say, I, as you know, I run a Power Ranger page. Aside from doing podcasts and teacher assistant for special needs children, I also run a Power Rangers virtual video library where I try to do, or like pretty much like ultimate best videos, pretty much storyline arcs of every character, whether you're villain, Power Ranger, or ally mentor. So in your honor, I want to make sure I created every single scene that you did as Frax, and that includes your scene in the Megazord scene too, when Frax has his own Megazord. So I included those scenes as well because any scene that involves your voice,
wow.
I put in there. So we're gonna watch a clip of Frax's first appearance, and of course, I want to get your reaction towards it, of course. All right, so let me
How
know.
long is this thing?
Well, the video itself is hour 20, but I'm only gonna show like maybe 2 minutes of it, like so that
Okay.
way, you know, 'cause
Gotcha.
I know like you have like you're like
You'll send me a link later so that I can show my dad.
of course, and this is why Eddie, this is why I want to have you on for part two in the future, because not for an interview, but to honor you, like for an Eddie Frierson appreciation special, where we can just show clips of your work, not just on Power Rangers, but as Maddie and Naruto.
You know what? Okay, and I bet he would do it. You should have Kerrigan and I on together
I
with
had
it.
Kerrigan
You
on.
know, that would be a hoot.
I got excited. I almost made my green screen drop. I actually had Kerrigan on the show twice. I would love to have both you guys on at the same time, you know. And before we show the clip, I got to ask you, since you worked with so many Power Ranger voice actors, and you mentioned some like Scotty who played Porto on Power Rangers Turbo. You mentioned Steve Kramer who played Dark Honda in Power Rangers in Space. Let me ask you, did you ever work with another Power Ranger voice actor, and who is my lovely co-star Jesse Devine's favorite voice actor, Richard Cancino?
Yeah.
You know, there are so many things I can remember, and it's been ages now, but Richard had a big, you know, voice actor cookout at his house one day. And, you know, it just, yeah, no, I have to tell you that out of, you know, this business, this group of core actor people that didn't know each other at all, who are doing the same thing, and there's no, uh, jealousy or ego involved when it's like, you know what, you know what, Richard, you do it. Eddie, sit down. You know, and there's so much of the all being, you know, all for one and one for all of us just, you know, you genuinely like each other. So even though we don't see each other certainly as much anymore, whenever there is where you bump into somebody, it's like, oh my gosh, how you doing? It's like, oh great. How old are your kids? Your kids out of elementary school? Well, actually, they're married. I've got 17 grandchildren. You know, and you're like, no way. But it's like time doesn't pass with these folks, and there's, you know, I mean. Even, you know, Bryan Cranston was one of those original people back
Yeah.
then, you know, working at Inner Sound in the basement. It's kind of thing where you knew who people were. It's like, hey Kerrigan, you know, hey Brian, hey, you know, but you never worked together. So it was very odd and different to have that Wallace session where Kerrigan latched onto me trying to learn my lines and then forever became attached to me and my life. And I'm forever grateful for it. And it all goes back to the wonderful Laura Cody, who is one of my best friends on the planet. And I would do anything for that gal. She's amazing.
Awesome. And you know what? I'm gonna talk to Kerrigan though, but I love to have you both on it. We'll even pray, you know what? As a bonus, we'll even, you know, pay tribute to both of you guys and show clips of Goldar and Frax. I mean, Team Gold, you know?
That'll be fun. That'll be funny. And
Um,
and I'll
Oh
tell
yeah,
you,
yeah, they're
I'll
both
tell you
gold. Yeah,
this
start thinking.
save this clip because this is my prediction in advance. You know,
Okay.
I'll tell a story and he'll go, no, 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 it wasn't like that. And he'll give his version of the story.
we're
And so
definitely gonna
we have different memories of different stuff.
Oh, this is gonna be
But
cool.
we have to tell we would definitely have to tell you about our initial trip to New York to see if we could do it, if we could get a theater, if we could make it happen. It's like every producer actor's dream how that all was just like, are you kidding me? This is insane. I mean, we're there, you know, it's in a day when there's beepers, right? That's the only way you could do it. And by noon on our first day, we're getting a beep. And it's like, you got to go to the payphone, you make a call, and it's the Niederlander office. They want us to meet on the 17th floor that day at 5 o'clock because they wanted to know what this hit show. You know, they nobody knew what we were, and they didn't know that our budget was next to nothing. They just knew that this was this hit show from Los Angeles, and everybody's talking about it. And yeah, it was crazy. And I can still remember we're out in front of Sardi's toward the end of the day with Ed Gaines, the guy who ran the little theater in California, the Two Roads, and he was producing with us. All three of us were carrying these black bags, briefcases around New York City. So we called ourselves Black Bags 3 Productions from that point on for the Maddie Show. And we're sitting, and I knew that Ed Gaines, you can look him up, Gaynes, was a child actor, and he did some Broadway stuff. But if you ever knew him, his voice is like this. And it turns out that, one day down to 405, as a relatively young person, young dad, everything else, I'm trying to get my time frame right, but he's bumped off the side of the freeway and the car flips. He goes through a windshield and he almost decapitated. That's a dramatic way of saying that it completely severed his vocal cords. So his voice was like this. And he was a Broadway song and dance man. I had no idea. He was in Mary Martin's original Peter Pan. He went down Broadway doing solo, doing a duet with Tony Bennett. There's all this, which I didn't find out until much after the fact. But here we are, we're in front of Sardi's. And you hear this scream down at the end of the block, Eddie Gaines! And it's John Spencer, from L.A. Law and The West Wing and everything. And he runs on a sprint and jumps up on Ed Gaines and gives him a hug. How are you doing? And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And along with him is another actor from L.A. Law, and then this old agent who is a famous dude, whatever. And we're just blowing our minds are being blown from all this stuff. Anyway, I won't get into all of that, but the things that happen just because my dad found a book in San Diego is quite remarkable, and that's completely different from all the other voice stuff. Just really lucky to have lived this life.
Cool, Eddie. We got the clip ready. Let me know if everyone can see when I share screen, and we're gonna share it. This is hold on. Pardon me. Share screen, share sound. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Yep.
And if I
we can.
Yeah.
if I use the wrong picture, Eddie, I apologize. But this is what I use. I use
right.
the person I use the live action and the voice. This is the first appearance of Pratt.
Oh yeah, I remember that. When Lucas fell out of the truck.
Wait. Here it comes.
After you, Nadira. Your plan is working just as you expected, Master Rancic.
Oh, Daddy! I need a new dress. This one got filthy from lying on the street.
Anything you want, my dear.
Master?
You see, young lady, the future is full of surprises.
That's it. Just
Then the next scene is more where they feature more Pratt.
It's the first time I've been here as a visitor. The future will be all ours. Or should I say, the past?
So that laugh was before we established the maniacal scene.
One bit of unfinished business.
Yes, Master.
That was far too easy. Frack!
Time warp initiated.
So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. So what do you think about that?
It's great. It's so great. And you know what's fun to see is there's an eye pop without the, it was just a it wasn't the thing yet. So that was kind of fun to see, you know, knowing what would come out of that later on.
I remember Eddie watching like the very like when Time Force was near its conclusion though. I remember when we saw Frax's good side, like he was starting to turn good, and you started to see the soft side where he was talking to Nadira though. I remember watching that scene, and we're gonna and hopefully like if we're able to, we're gonna show that scene here. But there was a scene where you were doing a dialogue with Kate, where like it was Frax's dying words as a good guy, and that made not
It's
only my
sad.
heart hurt, it did it. I
Yeah.
felt that.
It is.
Yeah. And again, we didn't know that was going to happen. In fact, when we found out that the scientist was inside, I went, "Oh, come on." And then and it's like I wish I had known that this whole time, you know. But then that was cool, you know, and I could still remember the I'm melting kind of scene at the end, and it just it was sad. It's like, really, you're gonna kill him off? Really? Oh man. So
It's like that's what I always hate about the show. Is like when the bad guy's finally doing good, now you want to kill him off. That sucks.
right.
Uh,
But
Mhm.
it's what makes you like it so much. It's like, if Juliet lived, it wouldn't be a good play.
of course.
It'd be a
Yeah.
good Hallmark movie. It's a different thing.
Can't complain about that. Can't deny that. We have a couple more questions, Eddie, before we
Sure.
wrap up though. And we talked about many projects that you were on though, and this is gonna lead to Gia's next question. Gia, take it away.
All right then.
That one's all yours.
Do you have any memories, working on like the anime Naruto?
You know what? I don't remember specifically. I just remember working on it.
I thought that was going to be my question.
No, you had another one, my man. You had the you got to look at the question sheets. That one was for Gia.
And again, these are things like I don't have copies of them. So while I recognize the face of the character, I don't remember what I did. So many of the things that I was doing back then, they just wanted my regular voice, which was kind of like high school. Hey dude, what's going on?
Aw.
That was the whole thing. And it cracks me up now that I've matured, they'll say, could you do this guy? And then I find myself doing a cartoon voice because it's this old guy down here, and it's like that's not what I sound like, you know.
It's like,
So
come on.
sometimes they'll have like an old guy, the old guy thing that they want me to do, and I'll just go, well, what are you talking about, man? And their brains go, it's an old voice. It's so bizarre. Anyway.
I
So
see.
I don't remember
Yeah.
Naruto. I other than doing it, but I'm sure that if I saw it, I would go, oh, yeah. It's just like there's only a few things that really stick in on my head, like 3x3 eyes, him getting hit by the bus.
Mhm.
Frax, the eyeballs popping out. Anything that's Lynn Kyle in the original Robotech Macross saga. That's fun because that's the first real gig that I ever had where it's like this is a real part and it's recurring and it's the thing, and it was fun because I really was kind of known as the Wally Cleaver of my associations, and here was a guy who was dating his cousin. His cousin was his girlfriend. He was her agent. He was a jerk, whatever, and he was just he was a bad boy, and it was kind of fun to do that character. So if you ever just go back and Robotech, it's a good series. I don't know if you guys know Robotech. It was on Netflix for a while. I don't know if it still is, but my character, who spoiler alert, the last episode is his last episode. It just was a really fun thing to be a part of, and of course, Becky and everybody in that show, including Kerrigan and everybody else, have gone on to do zillions of different things. So it'd be fun for you to watch, and it's also fun because it was non-union at the time, and I didn't get into the guild until the next year. I did a Budweiser commercial that allowed me to do all the union work. So in the credits at the end, I'm like the only person, or one of only two people using my real name in the credits at the end of Robotech.
Huh.
So that's kind of fun. Everybody else, you can
Interesting.
tell who they. Oh, speaking of which, I don't know who is in charge of that kind of stuff on the internet, but it'll say, for me, it says also known as Ted Richards. Who is that? I have no earthly idea what they're talking about. It's like also known as Christy Mathewson. I mean, because I used that just for fun as credit on some things. But this Ted Richards, I wish I could find out what part do you think I did, or that this person sounded like me, or did somebody in the payroll office write the wrong name for the credits or whatever it was. But I don't know. It's always it's kind of like when somebody misspells your last name, and that's what everybody spells your name as because they don't know any better, and you just kind of, so it's not a big deal, but it's like I wish that was off the Wikipedia page or the anime page, because I'm not Ted Richards, whoever that is.
I could sympathize with that, Eddie, because I get numerous times I get called Bauman instead of Bowman.
There you go.
So I get that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and it's an easy mistake. So, but I don't know. So I don't know if you do this, but around dinner time when the phone rings and you go, hello, it's like, hi, I'm calling for the fireman's fund for Mr. Frierson. And I go, nobody by that name lives here. Click. And it's not a lie. You always know the telemarketer because they get it wrong,
Hey, when I say your surname right.
It could be worse, Kwame. It could be worse. You could say, no, you got the wrong number. This is 912.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But I always like nobody by that name.
That's what I
nobody
do.
by that name lives here. But so many people just say Frierson because that's what it looks like, And it's it's not a. It's kind of it's an interesting thing too, going to the Maddie show, which is way too much stuff. But there was a ball player from Oxnard who played with Mathewson in 1912. His name was Fred Snodgrass, Snodgrass, Snodgrass. Everyone's called him Snod. His nickname was Snow because nobody pronounced his name properly. He eventually retired, came back out here, was even the mayor of Oxnard, and eventually just gave up and even called himself Snodgrass just because why make people feel bad. So so everybody to this day calls him Snodgrass, but in my show, I kind of rounded out Snodgrass whenever I talk about him.
Snow.
Eddie, we're gonna pass the question to Chris, and he's gonna ask this question. But before he does, I just want to ask, because you mentioned, of course, Maddie and baseball. Though I have to ask you this as a baseball fan too. Are you familiar with the baseball song by Terry Cashman, "We're Talking Baseball"?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you ever
are you familiar with Van Lingo Mungo by Dave Frischberg?
Heard of it? I didn't hear it though. I've heard of it, but I never actually
listened to it on YouTube. He just passed away, and he became a great fan of showed up at my show in North Hollywood one day from Portland. Flew down to see it. He's apparently he was a famous jazz guy. His picture's on the wall at Universal on the scoring stage. I had no idea until years later seeing that. And he says, "I got a song I'd love to give to you. It's called Maddie." He had been commissioned to write the book, the music for a Broadway show about the Black Sox scandal, and the script was not any good, but he kept all the music, and one of the songs is Maddie. It's the guy at the front desk at the Hotel Sinton in Cincinnati after they realize that they're throwing the World Series, and Mathewson comes in sad, dejected, and goes up to his room by himself, and it's this guy singing, "You were great, Maddie," to himself in the empty lobby in the middle of the night. And that's what opens the show. It's just so neat. But I don't know what got me talking about. Oh, Van Lingo Mungo, because you're talking about the other song. It's Frischberg jazz, but he takes all these bizarre real names from baseball, and the whole song is Van Lingo Mungo, and it's like so it's a great song with baseball history names that maybe you haven't heard before. So, anyway, about the song you were asking.
Oh, the reason I asked is because you watched The Simpsons, the show The Simpsons. Okay.
Yeah, I went to school at UCLA with Nancy Cartwright.
Really?
Yeah.
And she studied. Nancy, I believe, was a trainee under Dawes Butler.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, I just remember, it's it's talking out of school, but it seemed like she had a big crush on Kenny Rhodes. That's all I didn't ever have her in class or whatever, but like anybody, hey Nance, whatever, she probably wouldn't know who I am today, but
I need to
but
get
it was
her.
Tim Robbins, Nancy Cartwright. She wasn't famous in any way, she was just another theater student, trying to do musical theater and different stuff. So, but yeah, it was a good group of people.
The reason I brought that up, Eddie, was because they did a baseball episode where they had all these major players like Darryl Strawberry, Ozzie Smith, Mike Scioscia, trying to think of who, Don Mattingly. It was called Homer at the Bat, and they did a parody of that song. We're talking baseball with We're talking softball, and I have no
Nice.
problem, saying the lyrics though. It's a quick thing. It's basically like,
Yankee and the Duke.
yes, it was like that. It was like, well, Mr. Burns has done it. The power plant had won it, with Roger Clemens clucking all the while. Mike Scioscia's tragic illness made us smile. While Wade Block stay out conscious on the barroom tile, we're talking softball. From Maine to San Diego, talking softball. Manley and Canseco, Ken Griffey, swollen jaw. Steve Sachs was running with the law. We're talking Homer. Ozzy and the Straw.
That's awesome. I love that is so great. Here's a fun thing. See, because it's before you guys' time, but in 1985, the Kansas City Royals ended up winning the World Championship. George Brett being, he hit like 397 on the season, and everyone thought he was going to be the first 400 since Ted Williams, but there was a point in time he had a hemorrhoids issue where he could not play because his hemorrhoids were too painful, and he had a surgery. So it was a big thing in all the news. It's like, this is a personal thing that nobody needs to know about, but they wanted to know why he's going to be on the bench for two weeks, right? Well, I'm doing a show called Bullpen, which was a Red Sox comedy, and again, it was a bona fide hit in Los Angeles, and we're running through the winter. And Mike Scioscia had come to it along with Jerry Royce. I don't know if you remember when Jerry Royce pitched for the Dodgers. This was one of the coolest things that ever happened. The next week when we got to the theater, Jerry Royce had a signed photograph for each one of us sitting at our places in the dressing room with a quote of our characters from the show. Like, what baseball player is going to be taking notes on his program and do that the next week, unsolicited, not care, whatever? Anyway, so the George Brett and his brother Kenny come one night, and it's like, this is so cool. George Brett's coming to the show. I guess it was the year before. They won in 85, so it's in 84 that the hemorrhoid thing happened. And we're going on our riff and da-da-da-da, and, it's a laugh a minute and whatever, and I'm playing the dumb guy. And, every time I open my mouth, people are laughing because it's like, well, I was going to be an obstetrician. What are you talking about? Well, one of those guys keeps track of stats and stuff. Anyway, so we're sitting, and as we're getting in this role in the middle of the first act, all of us at the same time went, oh no, it's come. Oh, we forgot. So it went da 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 hemorrhoids. And then my character after a beat goes, like George Brett, and he's in the audience. It's like, it's like, oh God, what are we? So it's like, goes boom, like George Brett, total silence. And then he goes, ha! He exploded in laughter, and the place came down. And then, they got to milk it for 4 or 5 more laughs while, some of the other ball players acted like they were going to hit me and stuff. It was pretty fun. Anyway, I don't know what brought that up.
I love it though.
The old names from the song.
Oh, of course.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it, whether that's right or not. They'll have to go back and look at the tape.
I just gotta rewatch that episode again too. Like, I just remember the back and forth between Darryl Strawberry and Homer Simpson. You're Darryl Strawberry. Yes, you play right field. Yes, I play right field too. So, well, you're better than me. Well, I never met you, but yes.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
That was funny. Chris, I apologize. You've been very quiet and very patient with me. What you asked your question? I apologize.
Mr. Patty, what do you need? Did I pronounce that right, or is it Patty?
No, it's Patty.
Okay.
Some people have mispronounced it. Patty,
Yeah.
Petey, he's something like that.
Pate.
But Pate,
Mr. Liver.
Dang.
Sorry, Chris. What do you got?
So, what teachings or important lessons did you take with you during your entire experience as a voice actor?
Life lessons as a voice actor. Is that, did I get that right?
Well, yeah, teachings or important lessons that you took with you during your entire experience as a voice actor.
Well, again, it's really it's not necessarily the voice acting that created the experience or whatever, or the life lessons, but you just to have that sense of community with people that you know but you don't really know. I mean, but you're all family, and like I was saying, you bump into somebody now, you know, and like if I were to bump into Brian Cranston on a street in New York, I would say, "Hey, you remember the days you were at Intersound?" And he'd go, "Huh? Oh yeah, yeah, you were you were there," and that sense of belonging and family and support that was created in that atmosphere at the same time that everybody, you know, all the people involved, they were learning how to direct and write and act all at the same time. So it was a real community effort to try and put out a good project. And sometimes, it was a great success, and other times it was not typically an epic fail, but some shows were just not as good as others. But the ones that worked, that were fun to come back to, I can remember one of the more recent, and now it's probably 20 years old, Fighting Spirit. Richard Epcar was directing this thing. It was a boxing thing, and he wanted me to be this Takamura, the boxing coach of the main person. Who I'm trying to think who the actor was that did that. It doesn't matter, but I can see his face. And it was so different from the dudes that I was always doing. I got to he said, just be me, buddy. And so I'm like, hey, how you doing there, kid? Uh, but the fact that only Richard would have cast me to do that thing and tell me to be him, uh, because know that we could all work together and make it work and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's really the things I learned most was how to just, even when somebody's having a bad day, to be able to get along and to water off the duck's back. Realize that if anybody was really stressed or just had a screaming fit, which was so rare, don't get me wrong, so rare, but it was because there's a deadline and there's pressure, and they're getting input from Japan and here and the money people, and and then if you can be that little piece that makes that day better for everybody around you, because they were constantly doing that for me. I loved going to work doing voiceover anime stuff, especially anytime, or the live action stuff like Power Rangers, because it really was like, hey, how you doing? I became kind of, in movies and TV, I became known as the sports guy. And so even now, I'll walk into a soundstage at Universal and they'll say, oh, what, we got a baseball game today? And I go, I don't know. They just told me to show up. But there's that sense of, um, just belonging and being a part of it, and the friendships you form, and to, you know, recognize that if somebody might be setting you off in some way, just take a deep breath, because they're probably just having a bad day. It's kind of like, my sister is famous for, if she goes out to eat and the waitress is just a goon, clearly having a terrible day and is fussy and never gets anything right and slams the food on the table, and she'll give them a triple tip, because it's like, you know what? She's having a bad day. I'm going to try and put a smile on her face. And it's that kind of stuff that I learned from both working and collaborating and coaching and being a ball player. I mean, it all kind of goes together. Everything is teamwork. So even and then also too, don't take people at your first impression. for example, Kerrigan Mahan. I thought he was this gruff, standoffish, sullen, quiet, person. And he's, one of my best friends in the world. I love him to tears. I mean, I couldn't have been more wrong, but that was just my subconscious brain putting a label on. You don't want to come to the, oh, come on, stop it. You don't want to pay $20. Knock it off. Yeah. And then it's like, this man spoke to me. I want to help you. And we've been like this ever since. But there's so much of life's experiences and relationships are like that. You don't know that you're going to be walking into a room and Cupid's arrow is going to shoot you through the heart with the next person that walks through the door. It just, it happens, but you got to be open to it, receptive to it. Um, and and I'll stop waxing poetical and philosophical now.
I mean, I love the poetic philosophical stuff. So it's all good to me. And let me just say this too. Eddie, I mean, I got to know Kerrigan when I met him at PMCC in 2024, 2 years ago. Had him on my show twice. Just a wonderful human being. Much like him, you're a very wonderful human being. Based on our conversation we've had right now, and that's why I'd love to have not only both you guys on, but I would also like to pay tribute to you both in the future with clips of Goldar and Frax combination, Gold Frax.
Yeah,
or
Frackstar.
Frackstar.
So here's you tell Kerrigan it's going to be Gold Frax, and you tell me it's going to be Frackstar.
No, it's an alternate word. It's an alternate banner. Frackstar, Gold Frax. It works either way.
Yeah.
Gold Frax, Frackstar.
But you see what I mean, where if you didn't know Kerrigan, and it's such a dumb thing, just because his voice and his expressions and everything, if you didn't get a chance to talk to him, you would have a whole different first impression. Although not so much now that he's got little more of the white hair and he mellowed out in his old age and loves to go get pie at a place up in Cambria. So
I like pie.
I didn't like him.
I gotta ask to Eddie. We're gonna get to our final comments too, but before we do, I just have one of my.
Did you have something? It's real.
Did you have something, Kwame?
What about Jess?
Jess, what do you mean? Jess asked her question.
Yes, she asked. She did.
Yeah, she already did.
She already asked Jess, Kwame in the beginning.
Sorry.
Yeah,
if anybody forgot something,
Kwame,
have it sent to me, and I'll try and.
Kwame, we have to save some of the good stuff for it next time, though. I mean, we want to have Eddie on again. We want to make sure. And plus, I want to pay tribute to Eddie and
because we used up all the bad stuff.
Okay.
Eddie,
right.
One of my final questions before we get to our final comments too is what do you, and this applies to everybody in this room too, when I ask this, what do you think of the impact that the Power Rangers franchise has caused on both old and new generation of fans like us here, like old generation fans like myself and Chris here, along with new generation of fans like Kwame, Gia, and Jesse 30 years after its initial release?
Well, again, it is a total surprise. And it was a surprise at the time that it was happening, because when it first started and you went in, so Kerrigan, he had Goldar, right away. I'm just doing the occasional whatever, the monster noise, of which I never kept a list of any of that stuff. But you see, you go, seriously? And remember, this is before anything's dubbed into it. So you're just watching these kung fu fights, and the dialogue is kind of sophomoric because the other person hasn't, done their stuff in and they haven't mixed it. When you see a raw anything, it's just not the same. You have to really imagine, oh, there's going to be special effects here. Mr. Spielberg's going to fly this in. But we saw that, we just went, seriously? Okay, they're going to do it on Saturday mornings. Okay, good luck with that. All right, good. And the next thing you know, it's a cover of TV Guide, and the toys are exploding off the shelves. And it's like, wow, man, it's too bad we didn't get a cut of the toys. By the way, there's only 2 characters I ever did that I'm aware of that there's a toy for. One is Frax, and you can't find them in their complete state because the little plastic thing on the top of his head, most kids who played with it, that's missing. I do have one complete Frax robot, and then the other one is Ken from Fighting Spirit. which there's all kinds of statues of muscly Ken, and it's funny they have made. I signed a non-disclosure agreement. I don't think this is going to break it.
Oh, don't say anything. You don't want to get yourself in trouble.
No, listen, I don't think it'll
Yeah,
get,
keep
I'm not
yourself.
going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but
Okay.
there's a live action fighting spirit movie that's coming out. I was the original Ken, and the game, the cartoon, the cartoon movie, Fighting Spirit 2, all that stuff. And we're in the session, and it's the first. They call them loops. First loop of the day. It's going to be this voiceover for and another thing. Ken Powers did this and this and this and this and blah blah blah. It's kind of a newsreel thing to set up the movie, and as I'm getting ready to do it, I turn to the director and I say, I'm the original Ken. He goes, no way. I said, yeah, Google it. It's all. It's okay. And he does. And he goes, oh. I had no. This is perfect. This is going to be the ultimate Easter egg in this movie that Ken is talking about Ken. This is going to be cool. And so that's a recent fun thing. So when that comes out, not that you would necessarily want to go see it, but you'll know that that's me doing that thing at the very beginning, being my Richard Epcar.
Very cool, sir. I gotta also ask you too, in regards to Power Rangers though, like, do you think that with Frax though, like, do you think that he should have had more of like of a happy? I mean, I don't know, like asking is it because like he should have had
Not
more of
such
a
a
happy
sad
ending.
ending.
Yeah, I feel like he should have had a better ending.
Well, yes, when you're just kind of looking at that, but I think that's why you want the better ending, because it really did kind of grip you at the heart, and it affected you in a way where you didn't want that to. No, don't no. It's like like Game of Thrones. They always kill the. Oh, that's a spoiler too. You just get invested in a character, and what? What are you talking about? That was the main character. But it hooks you and gets you caught into it. It makes you very sad, but I think you have that visceral feeling of, well, that really sucks. It's like you just had a loss, whether it's a death in the family or a divorce or whatever it is, and you feel that same thing, but it makes it real, and it's why it's so effective. Now, could they gone another direction and then Frax has his own series? Sure, but it wouldn't have been the same thing.
Of course, I
So,
know.
and of course, knowing that they were going to tie up everything at the end of the year, yes, it could have been happy, but if it had been happy, then would it finish like every other Power Rangers thing where they end up winning and this and that and the whatever? I mean, the whole ending of that season is just different. And I think that that's a big part of it. And that people who despised Frax and Nadira and all all through it, they didn't realize they really liked Frax until the end, where you don't want him to die, that kind of thing. So should it, would it, could, I mean, you can talk about that for any movie or TV show that you've ever watched or been a part of. We all have our own better ideas. But that's why we read the book before we go to see the movie, so that we can have our own idea of the characters, what they look like, what they sound like. And whenever you do that, I don't know about you, but it always like, well, that's the wrong choice. That was terrible. Or you go, excellent casting, excellent. So yeah, we all have our opinions. I'd be curious, go ahead and rewrite the last episode and let me know what you would have done. Because I'll just deliver the lines.
I think that Eddie, I think that Frax, much like Nadira and Rancic, he would have just turned good, and he would have been like a protagonist robot.
Right. And then he could have been the sidekick for all the Power Rangers to come.
Oh yeah.
Just like and stands in the corner and just, oil can, and just come out and give advice whenever they needed advice or they were up against it.
Eddie, you know what? We're gonna show a clip of this a brief clip of the final moments of Frax though. So like, and then we're gonna do our final comments though. And also, if I can, could we also, because this is a tradition we've had on the show here too, and Kwame knows about this too, but after we play this clip and before we wrap up though, could we possibly get like a potential, can we get threatened by Frax, and also can we get a word from Frax what he has to say to Nadira? Like after we play this clip.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna play the clip. This is I think Frax's final appearance.
Is this from Frax's Fury?
Is it Frax's? I think this is the last ever appearance you made. And also this is the robot. I'm gonna show you.
Okay.
I think it's on the episode End of Time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this
Yes,
is
End of Time.
Let me see if I pull it up.
I think it's part 2.
All right, I'm gonna share screen.
There was nothing left of
Let
the
me
old
see.
science inside of Frax. The consciousness was deleted. Yeah, I know it. I knew it.
Starts right here.
Nothing can stop the Doomtron.
Let's show him some real power,
was right.
Rex.
All weapons online. Begin attack now. Mission completed.
This is Time Force, babe.
Right here, I think.
There's too many.
Another cycle of balls.
Right here. Frax's last appearance of death.
Finish him off now.
Cyclone defense!
Get up! Get up!
Rancid! All systems are down! I order you to get up! We must carry out our mission! Rancid must win! Get up!
Come on, let's go!
Your Megazords are no match for the power of the Doomtron!
He's
What's
too
your
strong.
point, Eddie?
We can't hold on.
We have Wes needs more time, and we've got to
I feel the emotion on that one.
Way to go, Wes!
Me too. I felt it too.
Destroy them all!
I wouldn't bet on it, Rex. Q-Rex! Full power to lasers! Fire!
Oh. And here it comes.
Oh.
Worthless robot! Look what you've done to my Doomtron!
Poor Frax.
That was a.
Don't tell me you're crying over this ridiculous robot!
Daddy,
That's ridiculous.
he was once human! How can you be so cruel?
Seriously.
Humans despise me. I have nothing but hate for all humans.
Someone has to stop the hatred!
Stop your battling!
So, yeah, I just thought I had to share that final moment.
That was the last straw for Rantic, babe, and what you just saw, and she hasn't seen Time Force for a long while.
Okay.
Yeah, but that scene, I can't remember that.
Rantic doing that to our own daughter, to his own daughter.
So Eddie, your comments?
You know what? I remember at the time that all of it was a shock, and so we just kind of went with it at the time, and even when he gets offed, was not shown that in advance. It was just okay, just go with this. Here we go. Boom, 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 and it just so that when his face melts, that was organic at the time, along with their little sound effects. But
I
yeah,
mean,
it's just
Yeah.
it's sad
Just
because
broke apart.
it ended up being, like I said, it was a gig, and then it ended up being a fun gig, and then it ended up being a good gig, and then it was over. It really was sad. you know.
and you know what? I jokingly say, Eddie, that my reaction, like when I first saw this, was not like it was very similar to Nadira's, but not like that. It was more like Marty McFly's reaction when he found out Biff married his mother. That's the kind of reaction I would have had.
Right.
Um, Eddie, we're gonna go on to our final comments though, and we're gonna start
Okay.
ladies first. Miss Divine, your final comments for the legendary Eddie Frierson.
Okay. It was really it was really amazing to learn all about you and your history with acting and friendships.
Why, thank you very much. It's really fun for me to relive it and talk about it because
You're
it's not
welcome.
something you do every day. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on with the one half of ladies first. Gia, your final comment.
Mr. Frierson, it is such an honor to meet you, and I just want to thank you for being such a huge part of our childhood and everything around it. You playing Frags was just amazing and incredible, like, just as you are. And honestly, I think we can speak for ourselves that if we ever meet you, we would want to, like, just, like,
When you meet me.
well, when.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, thank you. If we ever do, like, we would want to give you the biggest hug and or shake your hand, just thanking you for everything. You were
I'm a hugger.
amazing.
I got that from my mama. I'm a hugger.
Okay, I'm
Bring
gonna
it
give
on.
him the biggest bear hug if I ever see you, Eddie. I'm giving you the
Yeah.
biggest bear hug.
Bring it
Yeah,
on.
Gia's a hugger.
You don't scare me.
Certainly a hugger, babe.
But Mr. Jacobs, your final comment.
Yeah, from what Gia said, yeah. Thanks for making our childhoods awesome, and I'm just glad Time Force came out on the year of I was born, along with Jess and Gia.
Wow, now I feel old.
No,
That's pretty
no,
cool.
I feel
Oh,
old too. You know
no.
what? I'm not gonna
It
lie. I
just
feel
I have a strong connection to Time Force. It is one of
It's-
my favorites. I mean,
It's that,
I love
and that
Frax.
is really cool. You two remind me of, I was at Morphicon, the first one I was at, and someone came up to the table and said, "You are the soundtrack of my childhood," and I'm like, "What?" Oh, cool. And now I embrace it, and I think I thought, "Are you kidding me?" But you kind of said the same thing, growing up with and all that stuff,
Oh, I
and
did.
it's just it really is fun. And like I said, had no idea that such a thing would have such an impact on people, yourselves, obviously. So that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course, man. Anytime.
Mr. Patty, your final comment.
So, the woman you mentioned that introduced you to voice acting itself,
Laura Cody.
Laura Cody,
Mhm.
and I was about to say Lori Allen, but that's somebody else entirely.
Uh-huh.
And I knew that name actually rung a bell in my head because, and this is really for the benefit of the audience here, but she's actually also the voice of Rosemary in Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 4, among my favorite games that I ever played. And she was also in Akira, and she was also in, of course, Robotech, like you were talking about.
Yes. Yep.
And so, yeah, it's just like, wow, what a fucking small world.
Right. And and the fact that that group of 7 theater people doing a bad play, like I still remember the LA Times review of that play, Eddie Frierson's California Beach Boy version of Vronsky. It's like the only review I have ever remembered, because it was like, oh, that's great, just because I had this big mop of white blonde hair. But it really was a bad play, but such a great time for all of us, bonding. And I literally, any of us would do anything for the other person, anytime, drop it all, hop on a plane, swim to Hawaii, whatever it would take. Just, it's those kind of friendships and that came. I mean, honestly, Laura Cody is responsible for everything that I have in my career. I mean, everything went from this to that and the other thing from that first time going with her. Her partner Cam introduced me to my wife. There's just so I wouldn't have my kids without Laura Cody. It's just when you talk about small world, you would never have guessed that from this terrible play of this version of Anna Karenina back in the early 80s. You just never would have guessed that all of this would have happened. And I'm thankful for it. So I'm glad you remember her in the game and everything else. She's done more stuff than me. She's done so much stuff, but probably under different names.
We should have her on the show, Chris.
If we can. And ring her up, man. But another thing I was also kind of wondering about is, have you actually at all watched the Super Sentai version of this version of Power Rangers?
No, but
okay, because it's sort of just you were talking about how the Japanese do things differently and how over the top they could be, and yeah, I'll say it's almost a completely different show if you actually watch the Super Sentai version. So it's going to be more violent, and the stakes are going to be higher, and that type of stuff.
Less censorship in Japan.
They go all out in Super Sentai, and your Sentai counterpart of Frax, his name is Geen.
Oh. Huh. You can call me Geen. That's cool.
Nah, Frax is better. Yeah,
you are
me and Chris, we got a big knowledge of Sentai.
Eddie, before I get to my final comment, I just have one final question for you, and this is a question I ask every single guest on my show, and that is, what's next for Eddie Frierson at the show, sir? Because it's an open forum, you can say anything you want. I'm passing the proverbial microphone to you. The floor is yours, Mr. Frierson.
Well, right now it's vacation time, so I got a niece wedding, I got an aunt memorial service, and I've got family reunion, and then we'll be back here in Los Angeles in August doing my show on August 14th and 15th. So if you want to know anything about that, and I'm not trying to hype it, go to matty.org, matty.org, not .com. That'll take you to a car wash or something. And that'll just tell you more about the show and remind you of the dates and that sort of thing. But that's the immediate thing. Then I'm doing another play in October, and we start rehearsals for that in September. It's called Miss South Dakota, and I play an old washed-up football star that everybody thinks is still a star, who falls in love with the local gal who's never been married, who at one time was the runner-up Miss South Dakota. So it's kind of cute. And so that's what's next on the thing. Like today, I was working on Mosquito Bowl, a World War II football movie. And I don't know when that's going to be finished or coming out. Probably, I'm going to guess Thanksgiving-ish. I don't know. Maybe sooner, maybe later. And then, other than that, I don't know what, but I know there'll be other projects, coming up. I know that production starts on Tracker, for example, in August, and I'll probably be working on some of those episodes. And I never know when the calls are going to come in. I just trust that they will, and they do. So that's it for the immediate future. Maddie Show in August and Miss South Dakota in October, and a bunch of stuff in between.
Awesome, sir. And that's no pun intended. I just want to say my final comment too before we wrap up. And I'm going to send you a copy of this interview immediately. I'm going to try to get it up tonight. Okay. But when I do, I just want to say my final comments. And I feel like I'm going to go compete with both my co-hosts, Chris and Kwame, with this, because they say that I sound like a broken record when I say this. I like to think of this as a catchphrase, and I will say it to every single episode till the day I die. And that is, Eddie, you have this incredible gift. I mean, that where you could take a 36-year-old fan like moi here and bring him way down here and make him feel like that 11-year-old that had his parents take him to Blockbuster Video and rent out Power Rangers Time Force, watching that all over again.
That's pretty good.
Yes, master.
Thank you, master.
I just want to say again, thank
Whatever
you.
you say, master.
Frax. Oh, by the way, I gotta ask Frax this, because we've had villains on the show in the past. We've had Mezagog on the show. We had Rantic on the show. Can we ask Frax two things? Could he possibly threaten all of us here? And also, does he have a message that he would like to send to the lovely Nadira and also his former boss, Rantic?
Sure.
Don't you dare turn off this Zoom call until I tell you it's okay. Nadira, my sweet, I spent my whole life longing for you inside this robot. And now you're in Colorado or someplace, and I miss you so dearly. I'll see you at the next Morphicon. And Rancic, I certainly hope that the rumors I heard about your home are not true. And if they are, you are rebuilding easily and better than before.
Yes.
I miss you too. I miss saying, yes, sir. I miss being your slave. I miss doing everything at your beck and call, even though it eventually led to my downfall. All of you, I leave you with one last sound.
Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you so much, Mr.
Frax,
Frierson.
you shall be avenged.
Yes, we shall avenge. Eddie,
we will avenge you.
Eddie,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you for not only this amazing show, and one last thing before we wrap up. You deserve this, and I waited since I was 11-year-old to do this, and that is thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Eddie.
Eddie.
Thank you, Eddie.
Eddie.
And with that, start the Frax for President campaign.
Frax
Yes.
for president.
I'll vote for him.
Frax for president.
He's not just a robot anymore.
Eddie, you have an awesome night, man. And I'm going to try to get
Thank
not
you.
only part 2 in the works, but I want to try to get Kerrigan and you on the show in the future.
That'll be awesome. I can't wait.
You have a-
It's nice to meet all you guys. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for listening.
Thank
to me
you.
drone on because I tend to just talk a little bit too much. I tell people more than they want to know. So
Oh,
We
Eddie,
love to
you're
hear it.
funny.
Okay.
But until next time, right, Eddie?
until next time.
Take it easy, my
Yeah,
man.
man.
Have a great
So
night.
long.